What's up, Buttercup? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Nicole and I'm a booktuber and author tuber, and today's video is a beginner's guide to classic literature part 2. The first video will be linked in the description box below. I do suggest you watch that first and then come back. I mean, it's under 10 minutes, so I don't think it's a big deal, but if you don't want to, that's totally fine. This is also short and sweet as well. We're getting right to it. As I said in part 1, these classics are some of my favorite and what I deem as accessible classics that I've read over the years. I know a lot of people want to get into classic books but are often hesitant to do so because, yes, a lot of classics are dull and meandering and there's a lot of filler. But don't worry, I got you today. First up, are you interested in domestic horror or just like horror in general? Of course you are, and let me tell you, the queen of domestic horror, Shirley Jackson, is the best place to start. My favorite books by Shirley Jackson are The Haunting of Hill House and We Have Always Lived in the Castle. The Haunting of Hill House isn't scary, but it's spooky, and I appreciate that. Really, I don't think any books can scare me at this point, but I like the creepy, uncomfortable feeling that comes with The Haunting of Hill House. Very great for autumn/spooky season. We follow 4 characters: Dr. Montague, an occult scholar looking for evidence of a real haunting; Theodora, a light-hearted assistant; Luke, the future heir of the house; and Eleanor, a friendless, fragile young woman, well known for poltergeist and who's not all there. It's an understatement. The writing can be a bit confusing at times, but I think that's on purpose, especially with Eleanor because she's, well, yeah, like I said, not all there. It's a short novel, but I think that's a good thing because it's not drawn out and the stakes stay high and spooky. Also, I think Shirley Jackson is, of course, fantastic writer, and she I'm just gonna say knows because she's in the zeitgeist of everyone's life, whether you know it about it or not. Even though she has passed away, I think that she just knows how to write suspense and spookiness and really keep up the tension, and that means you can't have a really long book. You just can't. So her books are under 350 pages, and like I would say most of them are under 300, and I appreciate that. There's no filler. She does write at times a little purple prose, but I can accept that when the book is that short. Going into the next book I recommend by her, We Have Always Lived in the Castle is creepy and full of psychological tricks and really goes into family trauma and how and why a whole family can be so very messed up and shunned by others. In this case, for good reasons, because we follow the incredibly weird and messed up Marc and 2 of her close relatives. They live in a not so well taken care of house that's kind of like a castle in Maricat's eyes, as they isolate from the town after many years ago their family died from poison. That's all I'll say because I think it's so much better going into this book without knowing much, so you can immerse yourself in Shirley's writing and storytelling. And this is told from the point of view of the little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Maricat, so do be aware that the writing is a bit odd. However, that's on purpose as well because she is not all there. Next up, are you craving classic fantasy? Yes, you are. I think you might know where this is going, but I'll just still go there. Check out The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And in this case, I won't break this up into 3 books because that's not technically how The Lord of the Rings is supposed to be. The publishers broke up The Lord of the Rings, it's a huge book, into 3 parts to make it a trilogy because, yes, I totally understand the whole concept of this is too long, we're gonna break it up. And yeah, he accepted that, but really, if you're a fan of The Lord of the Rings, you know it's one book. So just know that you could read it, and well, you could buy the one big set and it's huge, or you can break it up in the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King, and that's also perfectly acceptable as well. But for picture purposes, you just see The Lord of the Rings. Anyway, at this point, we all know about the books and the movies by Peter Jackson. I would say if I could go back in time, I'd read the books before the movies, but I also will state that the books, especially The Return of the King, can be extremely hard to get through because Tolkien's a big fan of overwriting. But again, I think everyone knows that at this point. I'm suggesting Lord of the Rings because it's classic fantasy and what started it all. So it's very important, if I do say so myself. We wouldn't have the fantasy we all know and love today without Tolkien and all his hard work and love that he put into The Lord of the Rings. And also, not just what he put into The Lord of the Rings, but our next recommendation that's more accessible, The Hobbit. The Hobbit is way more accessible, and you should read that first, then watch the animated version from 1977 because that's the superior version. I don't acknowledge the trilogy. No, we do not. I do. Even though it's from Peter Jackson, no. And I think that The Hobbit is more accessible and a bit more enjoyable. Let's be honest, because it was written for a younger audience and it shows that very well. And that's not saying in a bad way. I think the writing and storytelling is way better than The Lord of the Rings and prepares you for the story for that story and Tolkien's overall vibe. But just in case you don't know about The Hobbit, it follows Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit who goes on an adventure with Gandalf, a wizard, and a bunch of dwarves. And it has a dragon involved. It has a lot of things involved. I actually would say that I prefer The Hobbit over The Lord of the Rings, but I think once you read The Hobbit and then you watch the animated version from the 70s, and then really, I guess it's up to you if you want to read The Lord of the Rings first or watch the movies first. I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Peter Jackson did actually a really great job, all things considered, even though a lot of Tolkien fans say that it's not good. Seriously, no, it is really good. But I'm digressing here. We're not talking about movies. I think that if you were to read just a couple of books by Tolkien, it would be The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. The other books are massive and really dense and just really heavy. I think you should try out these books first and decide if you're really into the world, and then try out Tolkien's other works because they're, of course, in the same world, but there's just so much more involved. Thank you so much for watching my Beginner's Guide to Classic Literature Part 2. Let me know if you read any or all of these books and if you enjoyed them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!